What's up, everybody? On today's video, we're going to be looking at the 30 most crime-ridden cities in the United States. That's right, we're looking at a top list of the cities with the most crime in the United States. We're using a combination of statistical analysis, our personal travel experiences, to tell you which cities are the most crime-ridden. We have traveled through most of the United States, 31 states, and all of the bad places in the United States we've been to, with the exception of Portland, Tacoma, and Seattle. Those three cities I have not seen. But as far as crappy places go, we have traveled across America, and we've been to most of the horrendous places this place has to offer, called America. So we're going to give you guys a list of the 30 most crime-ridden cities in the United States. There's a lot of misinformation out there. We're combining statistics with real-life travel to give you a pretty good list. Number one is Detroit, Michigan. Undoubtedly one of the highest murder rates in the United States. The city of Detroit is scary in the daytime and absolutely to be avoided at night. Every state has different laws, and not everybody calls the police when they see a crime, so crime statistics alone don't give us a fair picture of what's really going on out there. And with states like Michigan allowing things that other states make illegal, when you look at crime analytics, it can be difficult to decipher exactly which cities really do have the most crime, since after all, every state has different laws and different things they target. And in some states like Michigan, a lot of stuff that you cannot do in other states, you're allowed to do in Michigan. But overall, as a consensus, the city's criminal. Number two is Baltimore, Maryland. Here's a place where people have so little faith in the law that the vast majority of crimes are likely to go unreported. But on the good, bright side of things, it doesn't take too much to figure out that this is one of the most dangerous cities in the country. Absolutely frightening city to go through. You are always on point, scared and terrified for your life, just going down the street to get some groceries in Baltimore, Maryland. If you were to write crime-ridden on the internet, chances are the definition would be the city of Baltimore. This place is absolutely synonymous with crime. It is a very dangerous city that I absolutely dread going to. Detroit has great food, good suburbs. I could see me wanting to go back to Detroit. When it comes to Baltimore, I hope I never have to see this city again as long as I live. It's just a miserable place. Definitely deserves to be on this list. Moving on to number three, Memphis, Tennessee. Here's another place that is absolutely synonymous with crime. The city of Memphis is infested with crime to the point where living here as a normal civilian is like living in a war zone. We drove through Memphis late at night after the incident with the rapper Young Dolph, and the city was absolutely deserted. As soon as it got dark, everybody disappeared. People weren't even leaving cars out in public where you could see them. You could tell this was a very tense situation. Never in the United States have I been to a city that felt this tense and just downright military procedure as I did with Memphis right after that situation. It was absolutely horrifying. If you're going to Memphis to visit the Elvis Presley crap, probably not even worth it. It's in a really bad neighborhood. And ironically, for some reason, on all my Memphis videos, you have people who live there who go to the video to say it's one of the greatest cities in America. Really? Number four is Philadelphia. And let me just be straightforward. It's not the entire city of Philadelphia. It is a particular area known as Kensington, so the whole city of Philadelphia isn't horrible. But what's going on in this place called Kensington is so bad that it's going to bring Philadelphia to the top of our list. As I've traveled across America, I have yet to find a place that has impacted me in an emotional fashion the way this city did. It is absolutely the most heartbreaking thing I have seen across all of America. You can see a video of driving through here, but when you are here in person and you see the misery and the crime and the lawlessness of this place, smell it, feel it, be part of it, be in it, It is absolutely an embarrassment to the United States. Philadelphia is a crime-ridden city, and it is unbelievable how this is allowed to happen in the United States. Moving on to number 5, St. Louis, Missouri. Apparently, St. Louis doesn't look like that bad of a city. It's got some beautiful architecture. It's got one of the most impressive downtowns in the United States. They got good food, good culture. You know, you go to St. Louis and you may not really realize how dangerous it is because there's so much architecture, there's so much culture. But believe me, this is absolutely one of the most crime-ridden cities in the United States. The murder rates in St. Louis are usually top 3 in the country, and even some of the suburbs of St. Louis also fall above that category, between 60 to 80 homicides out of 100,000 people. That's absolutely horrendous. St. Louis is as dangerous as any city on the Mexican border on the Mexican side. It is absolutely one of the most dangerous places in the United States. So don't let the architecture and beautiful vibes fool you. This city is dangerous. Moving on to number 6, Oakland, California. Here is a city that has the highest murder rate on the West Coast. It has historically been plagued. On this video, we're going to call these community organizations, but you get the idea. On all the buildings, block by block, you can see the graffiti designating which community organization runs the particular area. Despite the fact the clear and undeniable facts are there, it's a crime-infested place. The people of Oakland, California were very upset at my video that I would be so judgmental. Let's talk about statistics. They have the highest auto theft in the country. Yeah, the highest. By far. Vehicle burglary, auto theft, they lead the nation in that category. And with a murder rate of 20 per 100,000 on the west coast of the United States, it's a very difficult cause to defend. Number 7 is Baton Rouge, Louisiana. The BR, as it's known to the locals. They hypnotized with hatred, man. Many talented people have come from the streets of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, but they've decided to leave. This place has one of the highest murder rates in the Deep South, and while New Orleans for a long time was known as the murder capital, it no longer holds that title, and I do believe that New Orleans is moving in a very positive direction. Baton Rouge is completely lawless. Getting off at a gas station at night is absolutely terrifying. Before you get out of the vehicle, there's people lined up ready to ask you questions or pretty much harass you, if not outright take your whip. People do burnouts on the interstate. They actually close down the interstate to do burnouts. Lawlessness here has reached incredible levels, and I would not recommend going here unnecessarily. Moving on to number 8. Albuquerque, New Mexico. They are excelling in crime. Their criminal activity is outstanding, just like their warrants. Albuquerque has a huge crime problem, huge homeless problem. There's even an area of the city known as the war zone, self-explanatory there. There's also community organizations here who victimize the community. Fences with barbed wire are not enough to keep the people out from stealing stuff. It is definitely one of the grimiest cities you're going to see, and despite having a beautiful architecture and a beautiful culture, great food, there's a lot of great things to see in Albuquerque, and it's a city I definitely recommend you visit at some point. Just make sure you stay out of the bad neighborhoods. They are really seriously struggling to keep their analytics with crime down. And a lot of the cities on this list, Albuquerque, St. Louis, Detroit, have great things to offer, but the crime is considerable. Moving on to Denver, Colorado, one of the most beautiful cities in the United States and a destination that you must see. While the beautiful sides of Denver are as beautiful as they get, the downtown area is unbelievable. Just as you can see here, this happens on street corners. Homelessness is everywhere. You're not even able to use a bathroom downtown unless you maybe give the people a tip and buy something like a sandwich or a soda, because there's so much homelessness in Denver that if you need to use a public bathroom, most of them are going to be closed. You're going to see people that are angry, distraught. It is absolutely horrendous what's happening in downtown Denver. In my personal opinion, way worse than anything I saw in California. If there was one word to describe Denver, at least the core of the city, I would say crime-ridden for sure. You'll see some very sad things. The city is in bad shape. Moving on to number 10, Louisville, Kentucky. So after the Breonna Taylor situation, the police department of Louisville stopped going after trap houses because that situation set a legal precedent on how these types of things were going to be handled in the future, giving criminals the upper hand and knowing that if a law enforcement breaks into a house, they could likely get sued. It's already happened in their court system once, and it's a great kind of layout for what's to happen. So the people in Louisville, Kentucky now know that if you want to start opening a trap house, nothing's going to stop you. You can call it in. You can report it as many times as you want to. Trap houses in Louisville are now 100% legit. You can open up a trap house, start doing business, and if the law enforcement comes after you, you can sue them. Great advances have been happening in Louisville. This city's really gone to crap. It's crime-ridden, it's dangerous, it's scary, and the hotels near the airport are bad. Number 11, Jackson, Mississippi. Also on the news for a whole different reason, the city of Jackson is struggling to give people basic utilities. Yeah, in the United States of America. This city is crime-ridden. Their homicide rates sharp between 60 to 80 out of 100,000. That is absolutely astronomical, easily making it one of the most dangerous cities in the world. But because the population is not that big, it doesn't show on those lists that you see on the internet for the most dangerous cities. Lack of amenities, lack of utilities, extremely high crime rate. The city is absolutely crime-ridden with absolutely no hope or expectations of making your life better. This has to be one of the most miserable and deplorable cities in the United States, where crime lurks at every single corner. Right in the heart of the Deep South, Jackson, Mississippi. Stay out of that place for sure. Moving on to number 12, Jacksonville, Florida, another Jackson city. Beautiful beaches and palm trees. Don't let the beaches fool you. Don't let the palm trees fool you. Don't let the fact that it's one of the fastest growing cities in the South fool you. My personal experience in Jacksonville, it is completely a crime-ridden city. It's one of the few cities that I will personally admit I'm afraid to go to at this point. I don't publish everything that I record, and if I'm in a city and something seriously bad happens where it incriminates people and stuff like that, I just delete that video and pretend it didn't happen because I'm not trying to make their problems my problems. But I can tell you that I've been in the city of Jacksonville and I have seen things that are terrifying. I've had people follow me in vehicles. It's just been a nightmare, and it's a city where I'm at the point of thinking, is it even worth going back to record? Ironically, out of all the cities in all the world, Jacksonville is the number one city that watches our channel. Over 105,000 people have seen my videos out of Jacksonville. Moving on to number 13, Houston, Texas. Another city that I absolutely love going to. Good food. There are great parts of Houston. I would consider moving to the Houston area. However, when it comes to the hoods inside of the urban core of the city, they are definitely some of the most crime-infested places in the United States. Recently, they had to close down a McDonald's right in the downtown of the city. There was so much crime here, they decided to close it down. We went to either a Walgreens or a CVS. I can't remember which one of the two, right near the center of Houston late at night. And literally, I'm surprised I didn't get jacked walking from the car door to the door of the business. The business had several vagrant people hanging outside, people that were just there begging aggressively. And as you can tell by the height of some of these fences, in the bad neighborhoods in Houston, they'll steal everything, and your vehicle in particular, especially if it's a truck. Talking about carjacking, number 14 is Atlanta, Georgia. Again, a city that I love to visit. However, despite all of the great things Atlanta has to offer, it has a lot of crime. I've stayed in hotels in Atlanta, Georgia, where the entire night I can hear car alarms going off as people are breaking into cars, despite the fact there was police officers in the parking lot. Make sure you get gas like 20 miles outside of Atlanta, because once you enter Atlanta, you're going to find that even getting out of a gas station is going to feel super sketchy. Known as the Hollywood of the South, the city has been influential in culture like music, but many of the groups coming out of the city, like BMF and YSL, have been linked to organized crime, and unfortunately it's tainted the reputation of what was a city known to be a successful African American city, has just become, well, synonymous with crime as well, unfortunately. I love going to Atlanta though. Moving on to number 15, Kansas City, Missouri. Another city with ridiculously high murder rates consistently for decades now. The city has been plagued with homelessness, addiction, crime, poverty, but they have good Mexican food. The city of Kansas City, Missouri has been plagued with horrendous things. They do have great comedians. Their barbecue really sucks. I know they brag about their barbecue being great. Their barbecue is as horrendous as their crime. I know they're known for their barbecue, but you could probably skip on that and try to find like a really good Mexican place. They really do have amazing Mexican food. The people here are straight up joining community organizations. Regardless of your demographic, there'll be a community organization you can join, a criminal organization. This is a type of city that makes great cop episodes and even better First 48 episodes. Despite the fact it has an awesome family feel, it still has a lot of crime. Moving on to number 16, Oklahoma City. Now, the state of Oklahoma allows things that other states don't, and it hasn't contributed to making the state of Oklahoma a better place. In fact, it is quite possibly one of the most horrendous cities you're going to see across America, synonymous with crime. This is a great setting for a First 48 episode, or a cops episode, or anything that's related to crime. Oklahoma City has a lot of problems. It is quite possibly also one of the most depressing cities that I have seen in the United States. You can openly see how the laws of this state have not worked. If you have a 14-year-old child who has delinquent tendencies and you brought them to Oklahoma City, they would have the most amazing time of their life. But by the time they're like 20, they would probably be like done with it. You know, like they'd probably like, you know what I'm saying? Like it would end horribly eventually. Number 17, San Antonio, Texas. San Antonio is one of my favorite cities to go to. They do have the best Mexican food that I have found anywhere in America. Good food, awesome vibes. They do have good neighborhoods. It is the fastest growing region of the country, stretching all the way into Austin. However, the hoods in San Antonio are primavera. A delinquência aqui é lugar muito marginal. Muito bom na favela do San Antonio. It's really hood. Like, you'll go into some of these neighborhoods in San Antonio, you're just like, wow, these type of places still exist in America. It's really bad. The hood in San Antonio is absolutely horrendous, and you're 2 hours from the Mexican border. That means anything that comes out of Mexico is very accessible, and anything going into Mexico, like your stolen vehicle, will be gone very quickly. Crime infested city, but I love it. Moving on to number 18, Birmingham, Alabama. The murder rate in Birmingham, Alabama is about 3 times higher than the city of Chicago. That's not good. The criminals in Birmingham are targeting people like Hispanics who the law enforcement refuses to take criminal cases from. That means there's free licks just walking around Birmingham waiting for somebody to hit the lottery. But it's not just criminals that are whacking Hispanics here. Even law enforcement officers have been put on the cases of Hispanics being whacked here with absolutely no charges pressed. This city is ripe with corruption, and while the suburbs are actually decent and nice, the city of Birmingham is to be avoided. It may look calm and quiet, but if you take the wrong turn into the wrong neighborhood, just driving into the wrong neighborhood could put your life in jeopardy. Not too far away is number 19, Montgomery, Alabama, known to the locals as the Gump. But the Gumpery is a dumpery where people are living in pure poverty. Crime is the order of the day, and if you're to drive into the western part of the city, let's say on a Friday night, it's almost guaranteed that they're not fireworks you're listening to. Recently, they clocked a murder rate twice higher than Chicago. This area of Alabama is absolutely dangerous. Crime-ridden cities. The school systems are horrendous. They don't repair the roads. They don't even have air conditionings in some of the schools. If there's a place in America where you don't want to end up in, it is the city of Montgomery, Alabama. Crime here is the order of the day. You can't even have events in the city because most likely they're going to end up on the front page of the news. Recently, an artist made a song about Montgomery in the year 2023 saying you can get killed for a pair of Jordans. Lovely. Well, don't wear your Jordans in Montgomery. Number 20 is Mobile, Alabama, not too far away. This is our third consecutive city in Alabama. Mobile has the worst life expectancy in the United States. It's a very unhealthy city where you could perish at any moment. If the hood doesn't whack you, the food will. If you watch the first 48 TV show, then you're definitely familiar with Mobile, Alabama. And you know that you could lose your life over the most petty crap in one of the most miserable cities in the United States. Though the statistics for Mobile, Alabama are horrendous, some of the worst parts of the metropolitan area, like the area known as Pritchard, aren't even within city limits. If they were actually to incorporate all that in the city limits, we'll be looking at statistically one of the worst cities in America. And yes, that was what you thought it was. The streets are flooded, filthy, unpassable. Number 21 is Chiracchio. Now, you have heard a lot coming out of Chicago, and everybody says it's one of the most crime-ridden cities in the country. But as we have seen on this list, there are cities with murder rates 2 to 3 times higher than Chicago's. It's definitely not the worst in the United States. The areas of Chicago that are bad, though, are very bad. The night that we were in Chicago, we ate at a restaurant, and apparently somebody got whacked while we were having dinner, or right before we were having dinner. Quite the event. Nothing like walking outside to that after you're done having dinner. I also literally waited 15 minutes until there was nobody walking around to get to the vehicle, since the people that were walking around were in groups and looking through the window as if they were wondering when we were going to leave the restaurant. Very scary. The police presence there didn't seem to deter these people from apparently trying to carjack you as you're leaving a restaurant at night. Absolutely dangerous. Number 22, Corpus Christi, Texas. Here's a city that has beautiful beaches in Padre Island, South Padre Island. It looks like a Tampa in Texas. It's like an undiscovered city when it comes to their beaches and their waterways. I think it's like a Texas version of Tampa. However, it is very close to the Mexico border, and on the east side of the border, everything coming out of Mexico has to go through there in some way or another. You can tell there's a lot of criminality in this town. But that doesn't mean it's a horrendous place in every aspect. They have great food. They have great beaches. I like the city. I love the people that I met there. But it would be dishonest for me to say that there isn't a visible crime problem here. And while statistically their crime's not through the scales, it's not crazy. If you spend enough time in this city, you'll start to notice kind of a few telltale signs of crime. Moving on to number 23, Monroe, Louisiana is the most violent mid-sized city in the United States statistically. However, the people that live here are very upset at my YouTube video. There's no way these statistics could be correct because they live here. I live here. It can't be dangerous because I live here.
Well, I wouldn't really say it's dangerous. I would just say you just can't go out at night.
Despite the fact these are analytics, the people that live in this town have a hard time accepting that their town is very violent. Look here, young man. We wouldn't do anything like that. And if you don't take this video down, we're gonna come find you and castrate you. They don't believe it, but it's true. Moving on to number 24, Shreveport, Louisiana. Louisiana, Louisiana. Why would you move to Louisiana? Shreveport is run down, it's in bad shape. People have sadness and depression all over their face. For some reason, I don't understand. The people in Louisiana are always trying to stand up for their town, say, hey man, no, we don't do that to everybody. But yeah, I mean, the crime statistics are one of those things that are very hard to manipulate when you're on the top end of it. And when I travel all across America and there's a mattress on the middle of the road, houses with boarded up windows, garbage everywhere. Yeah, Shreveport, you kind of belong on this list. Unfortunately for the people of Louisiana, they think they can just talk their way out of anything like a used car salesman when you try to get your money back. Well, hold on now. We can make this all work out for everybody. Springfield, Missouri. Here is a city that was absolutely appalled at my opinion about them. Clearly, this city has a crime and addiction problem that they don't want to admit. The whole city is in denial about their problem. And if that wasn't enough, if you listen to the reason why their town can't be bad, you guys ready for this? They think because they're a majority white city that they can't be trash. You know, that's those other people on the other side of the tracks. We're an all-white city. We don't have any problems here. That's really how people in this town think. And if you don't believe me, just go to the comments on the video that I did here and you'll see how these people think because they're a white majority city that they don't have any problems. No, they're doing just fine. This is just absolutely normal for a town square. Yeah, that looks about right. Only the black people that have these problems. No, you too. Number 26 is Tulsa, Oklahoma. Again, do you like watching the first 48? If you do, you're familiar with Tulsa, Oklahoma, and you have an insight onto what type of grimy crap this city does. Crime here just comes natural to these people. They don't even have to try. So there's a guy from Tulsa, Oklahoma, and he asked his friend, hey man, well, I gotta go to jury duty. What do I do to get out of it? And his friend was like, Larry, just be yourself. You'll be fine. When they see you acting like yourself, they're going to have to realize they need somebody else for this because you're clearly not sane. And how could you be when you live in Tulsa, Oklahoma? This city is absolutely crime-ridden. Do not put your family here. There's a few nice neighborhoods, but hey, the people that are milking the system, they're not going to live in these types of neighborhoods. They're going to be in one of them fancy houses down there, right there, that nice part of town. But mostly an embarrassment because Route 66, you'd think, right? Nope, it sucks. Number 27, Anniston, Alabama. It's a beautiful small town that's lost a lot of jobs. And they've increased a lot of crime in the process. Between Birmingham and Atlanta, the good jobs are gone, and the only thing left in the city is crime, poverty, and depression. If there's one way to describe the city, it's why are we being carjacked right now? Run down with very little opportunity, according to the locals, because if I lived here, I'd be buying these houses, fixing them, flipping them, renting them. But it's hard. The downtown's empty. The people are afraid to come outside. Most of them just moved on to better places. And the ones that are left here are pretty much just living the good old Alabama life. There's no rush to go anywhere. Unless it's the first of the month, then we got to run down and get a ball down there. One of them, no, dang right there. Number 28 is Gary, Indiana. What list of cities in bad shape and crime-ridden could exist without Gary, Indiana? Did you guys think I was going to forget Gary, Indiana? The setting alone is depressing. Graffiti, boarded up buildings, abandoned businesses, abandoned homes, high crime rates. If it's a bad statistic, it's Gary, Indiana. Despite that, the good, hardworking people that are still left here are dealt with an unreal landscape of desolation, destruction, a city that's a fraction of what it used to be. Crime is the order of the day here, and it is difficult to have a positive outcome when you're surrounded by Gary, Indiana. On the bright side, there is a Bass Pro Shop, and the streets are so vacant that if you decide to drive in the wrong direction, chances are you won't find out for a few blocks. Number 29 is Macon, Georgia, just south of Atlanta. Is a place you would probably best avoid. This city has a lot of community organizations, the type of stuff you would think about happening in California, but in the center of South Central Georgia. There's nice little towns in this vicinity like Perry and Gray, but Macon, it's horrible. Stay out of that town. Crime ridden. Number 30 is Pahokee, Florida. Pahokee to Yanoki and Dodoki, you heard me? Grab the donkey, put the sticks in the donkey, and go hit a lick. Straight up the streets of South Florida. Pahokee, Yanoki, you heard me? Okie dokie. I would make a horrible rapper. That's why I'm a YouTuber. Yeah, this town's definitely crime infested. It's a small place, but it packs quite the package of crime there. Crime infested for sure. Yup.